Board of Trustees meeting, August the 21st, 2014, at 5:30 p.m. to order. Roll call, Mr. Ligas.
Present.
Mrs. Diane.
Present.
Mrs. Brumlow.
Present.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Present.
That the governing body is all present. Open prayer, would you like to do that, Mrs. Brumlow? Mrs. Diane, do that first.
Our Father, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. We ask that you guide us through this meeting to make the right decisions for all of our citizens in the village. We ask that you watch over our soldiers wherever they may be. We trust that you will watch over all of our families. In your name we ask. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, any additions or deletions?
I think we're okay.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda for August the 21st, 2014.
Motion by Mrs. Diane,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Brumlow. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Brumlow?
Yes.
Mr. Diane?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Motion passed. Approval of the minutes, Board of Trustees workshop of July the 9th, 2014. Board of Trustees regular meeting, July the 17th, 2014. And Board of Trustees special meeting on July the 25th, 2014. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees workshop on July the 9th, 2014. Board of Trustees regular meeting of July 17th, 2014. And the Board of Trustees special meeting of July 25th.
And I second her
Motion
motion.
by Mrs. Brumlow, second by Mrs. Diane. Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mrs. Diane?
Yes.
Mrs. Brumlow?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion carried. Approval of cash disbursement journal for July 2014.
I move that we approve the cash disbursements journal for July 2014.
Motion by Mrs. Diane,
I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Brumlow?
Yes.
Mrs. Diane?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Motion carried. Acceptance of municipal court cash disbursement journal for July 2014.
I move that we accept the municipal court cash journal for July 2014.
Motion by Mrs. Diane,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Brumlow. Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
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 Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion carried. Manager's update.
Sorry. Mayor, Board of Trustees, the transit already closed out the dual credit program, an average of 164 students per session, twice a week with a field trip. And he billed New Mexico State for fuel and salary a total of $3,705.73. So it's growing every year. That's a good thing. He did have a site visit and the responses are due September the 12th. He does have a site visit scheduled Tuesday from 9 to 2 p.m. to discuss the grant application. So he's already working on FY 2016. And there's always a couple of findings, but nothing that they can't work out, and they come that day. Okay. On the previous site visit, there was the 4 deficiencies that he was working, and all the rest were good practices. Bus C1 was involved in a minor accident last year in Grants. We filed a tort claim and we still, to date, have not heard anything on that tort claim. And basically all that happened to our bus is the vehicle that hit it knocked the fender off. So Kim has mounted the fender on. If we ever hear from the tort claim, I don't know. But I can't tell you anymore, and we've called several times. But there's been a lot of change in administration with the other entity, and it's just not worked. He met with other service providers. He met with Dory Sandoval on August 14th, looking to handicap. Is there anything we could coordinate with services? Because they have their schedule that they get funded on as well. But any time that one needs to fill in for the other or how we could coordinate, they're going to work together. Her program, though, is for strictly seniors. So, and Kim's been trying to keep all our vehicles going. He's worked with Keith's, Jack's, Steve's. We got another training vehicle, if you see it outside. The van is moving to Jerry's department for P&Z, I believe. That car will be a training vehicle, and it's a nice car in good shape. And it's not a new car, but it is a nice vehicle, and we paid very minimum for it. And he worked on that bus for him. He installed a drain for the fire department, and I can't tell you what that means, but
I can't imagine.
he took the vehicle to service just to make sure, because we have 2 ladies going to the classes, the EDGE classes, because the village, all the entities need a certified procurement person in their office. It's mandated now. And we have a hard time getting in. They need the classes, but they're over full. So Teresa and Trini are both going in. And it's a big commitment. It's 2 days a month and then a whole week in October. And the classes they're trying to get in for next month are already booked. So they're going to struggle to get that, but as long as they know we're trying, and they're going to be driving that vehicle back and forth. And it's at NMSU in Albuquerque. And it's a full course, it's a full accreditation course, but the state is mandating that. So we had someone in my office today, and Teresa said, I'm not going to sign off on anything because I'm going to be responsible. And I told him that's good because I'll just ask her. Bill, if you notice, the soccer fence, the pro panel and the covering is up at the soccer field, and it's working and it looks nice. He's going to grade it, and then he's ready to start. I've asked Jack and Andy to get all of the materials needed to put a water service that far, and he'll work on the sprinklers, and then we'll plant some grass. And that is temporary. We may put a little bit of sod and some grass to get it started, and we've not given up the hope that we're going to partner with the other entities to get a complex. But we want somewhere for the sports, the soccer people to have next year when they need it. So we're working on it. He's pouring concrete under all the canopies at the parks. I think he lacks 3 or 4 at Kearns, but he's gone to Elkins and all the others, and that'll be nice for us. And they're cutting the weeds on the Mirabal jogging path, and they're growing faster than they're cutting. The grass is all planted at Kearns, and we're crossing our fingers. The medians were trimmed, and now, if you notice, the median directly in front at Lauterberger, Homestake has adopted that, and they've hired a contractor, and they're working out there. The boiler is down at the pool, and we contacted the maker of the boiler, and they have a warranty person in Albuquerque who's been working with Bill. We are repairing it, but I did order another one because we don't know how long it's going to work. So we have ordered another one to keep, and we've had the pool open, but like the people that swim in the morning, it's too cold for some of them. But we're trying. We're doing the best we can. We did order another one, and it should be fixed, this last part. And I understand we started with a little library, and we have one ready. And Trustee Gallegos, they want to know where you want it.
How about right out in front?
Where? I said that.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to get out there and walk
Yeah,
around.
you're gonna, you can talk, you can talk to Bill when you're here, I'll call him,
Okay.
or Val, because I said that too, I said outside. Well, where?
I'll get
So
out there.
I told him I would ask you to get with them. Okay,
I will
they've got
do that.
one ready, and they were fast. And they are getting ready to start on Loomis. Another thing I need to bring to you is we heard the hospital was having a function the same night, and they order plaques and do a lot of others, so can we move it to the 18th, up a week?
Yes, that's no reason.
Is there any opposition to that? If you're all right with that, we'll do that. And we're in agreement. Green chili, red chili, salsa, a carrot cake contest, and a pumpkin pie contest. And Loomis. And pumpkins. It should be a full day.
And a car show.
For utilities, Andy attended a meter training to activate and set up on the computer. And I think Bart sat in on some of that. And the meters are all red. They installed a water service at Forest Park. It's in the limits for Bratzel. And they got the motor that we were rewinding for a while, B49. Jack assisted with B49, and they're working on cleaning the ditch and the weeds. And it's kind of difficult because they can't put their equipment in the ditch. They're doing the best they can. Corley is getting ready to plant alfalfa. He will be planting our carrots. It was too late for the pumpkins, so we have already arranged to purchase some pumpkins for this year. Phase 4 of motel is complete. You'll notice sometimes we have a drainage problem, but that is because in all the phases, the drainage was we were only allowed to go that far, so once it goes that far, the water has nowhere else to go. So we are pumping it because we already have some funding for the next phase, and that will take it all the way to the plant. But our guys have been pumping it. And I think in the last week they came one night. And they're having to do that, or it's going to stay there. It will pool. Jack and Kim will be going to Santa Fe Monday. They're going to go Sunday night. They had applied for a hardship grant, and only the entities that were successful get to go to this. And they have to be there. They're allowed 30 minutes to look and see what they like. And so Kim is going to go with Jack and see if they can find some dump trucks or something, you know. I think this hardship is good for 2 years, and they will be able to pick up anything in the range of $25,000 at no cost. Uranium, Milan uranium bid will be opened next Wednesday, here at City Hall at 2 o'clock. And the compaction, they say May, but I think it will have to go to a geogrid because we had to do that last time. The New Mexico 122 sidewalk curb and gutter from Dairy Queen to Sand Street has been awarded and getting ready to start. And Corley ordered the carrot seeds, so we're hoping they're here. They're cutting and mowing. They filled potholes, bladed Lori Lee and the road off of 122 on Forest Park, and they fixed a flat on the grader. As we can, and I see areas that need it, so if you see areas, please come to me, because sometimes there's so much going on we don't see it. And they've been real good about trying to get it when we see it. AJ has went back to a winter schedule at the pool, and he's waiting to see if the school will be coming in the afternoon or when they're going to be coming. He has talked with Baca School, and as you know, the boiler is out, the heater, so they're working on it. Do you want me to do P&Z or do you want
Go ahead.
to? The P&Z board asked if they could change the date of their meeting for September because of a meeting with the wildlife, what the forest is having that night. So I don't know when that is, but they want to know if they can change that. So I'm sure they would advertise it with plenty of time if you'll allow that, okay? And then they have they had a couple of replats on the agenda, and they were a no-show, so they tabled them and put them on for the next meeting. And there's a total of 3 replats. She issued 8 yellow tags and 2 citations, and she's going to court on Tuesday. She did inform me that Mr. Halland, the gentleman that we were working with, APS closed his case. So and he hasn't found a place to live. I know that a couple members of his church have been working on the place, and they're trying to help him, but we're kind of stuck. We don't know yet. You know, that may be what we have to address next. And Jerry and Keith are here, so I'll let them, unless you have any questions of me. I do have one thing. Marlene Fuhrer from Waste Management came to see me yesterday, and I had mentioned that whoever's going to the conference would be invited to a dinner on the 26th that evening. And I told her I didn't think we'd have anybody there then, but she asked, they're going to have a booth at the conference, that you visit that booth. She brought her replacement for me to meet, and her name is Selena, and she didn't have cards because she was in the job 3 days, if you can believe that. Her name is Selena, and she will be at the booth. So they would like for you to go and meet her. I don't know where I put it. And like I said, she was 3 days into the job, looking forward to working with everyone, and we have a bunch of new people we're working with, and it's working very well.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Board of Trustees, we've been pretty busy. We had 8 fire calls last month. 5 fires, actual fires, 2 assist calls for grants, one was on the interstate. We ran 21 medical assists, 2 smoke odor problems, and 1 lockout last month. So we've been pretty busy. The pictures I gave y'all earlier are on a compressor. That's what I got a grant for from the State Fire Marshal's office. It was we got a grant for $40,000. This cost us like almost 50. So we had to pay them, but that's in the station. That's the grant. That's where we refill our bottles right there at the station for our SCBA breathing apparatus. Just to let you know what that was. The drain that Marcelo was talking about earlier, and I know Georgia knows about this, is that Fedco station has always had a problem with water falling up right there in the bays. They're going to put a drain in there and run it around where it'll drain out into there, so we won't have any more doors freeze like we did last winter or 2 winters ago and bust the doors open. That's what the drain was. But on the good side, the guys went to Tri-State last month, and on the first of the month there in Cortez. They came back with a 2nd place in a 3-man competition and a 2nd place in the women's competition. In 2015, it'll be in Albuquerque, hosted by El Segundo, mine. 2016, it'll be in Gallup, and then 2017 will be here in Milan. And that's about all I have for the fire department. And I'm going to give you an update on something I got this morning from Safety Counseling. The New Mexico Municipal League, which carries our self-insured insurance on our vehicles, are requiring that all people that drive a village vehicle anytime will have some kind of defensive driving course or a CVO course. And we're checking now to find out if the police have got to have both, the police and the fire have to have both, or if one will suffice. But anybody else that drives it will have to have a defensive driving course, and we do have that through Safety Counseling. So just to let you know where we're at there. And that's all I have, unless y'all have questions of me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees. I have a mixed bag of swords for you all tonight. I'll begin with personnel. Carlos begins the academy on Saturday, on Sunday. Has to be there at 6 o'clock on Sunday to begin Monday morning. He will be there for approximately 4 months. We get him back the week before Christmas. Jonita is completing her 4th week of training with her training officer. She seems to be doing very well. Richard is in his 2nd month, and what we are attempting to do with him right now is get him into a 1-week cert by waiver. He's, as I reported to you before, he is federally certified through FLETC, which is the Federal Law Enforcement Academy, but he still needs his state certification. And what LEA and Santa Fe has said is that with a federal certification, all you have to do is just go by the 1-week cert by waiver. So we're trying to get him in there. There's a few other things that we need to discuss with him to make sure that we have everything he needs, and I'm having limited success talking to anybody up there, so that's kind of a wait and see. We're preparing Mr. Waters for the January 15th Academy, and I am currently doing a background check for an applicant to fill our 7th position. So, barring any unforeseen circumstances or anything detrimental or anything, we'll have that 7th position filled, I would suspect within the next month. And April completed her telecommunicator academy training on the 1st of August. She's back with us as a certified dispatcher. So currently all of our dispatchers are certified. Moving on to the fleet, we had a recall on Richard's unit, and it was discovered quite by accident. Kim had it up on the rack to do an oil change and discovered that there was what appeared to be a leak around the top of the gas tank. And you could see it because it was obviously wet and covered with dust, as was the surrounding frame. So we called Chalmers, and Chalmers said, in fact, that there was a recall on that. They called it a fuel monitoring regulator or something. I think it's a fancy name for a fuel pump. But at any rate, we got it over there. The nice thing about this, and I will tell everybody that asks me, is that they did a wonderful job for us. Richard got it in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 o'clock they had called me that afternoon and said, it's ready, come and get it. And they even went so far as to, they discovered that he had a screw or a nail in one of the tires, and they even did a free tire repair for us too. Well, now I got a second recall on the other unit, the one that James is driving. There's actually 2 on that one. His car had fuel problems earlier in the week. We called Chalmers today, and they said, yeah, and they said there's also a second recall for something. George would know about it, but a half shaft or something, I don't know. But at any rate, we're going to make arrangements to get that back over to Chalmers. I mean, they did a fantastic job. Very, very cordial, very polite, got right on it. You know, is there anything else we can do? Gave me a full report and everything, and of course, warranty work, no charge. And on a not so pleasant note, I requested at the department head meeting this morning of all the department heads and to ask them to please pass it on to all of their people in the field. This rash of burglars that we have had, and it isn't just us, it's grants, and I know you've seen the newspapers and all the Facebook and everything like that, but I gave them some facts and figures based on my experience in investigating the burglaries that we've had over here. And we are actually looking for a white Dodge van with 2 white males in their early to mid-20s, a purple Dodge van with a rusted front grille, a white Ford Econoline van, and a white Buick 4-door with Support Our Troops, New Mexico Support Our Troops license plate. I actually came in contact with the white Buick day before yesterday and identified that individual. There's more investigation to be done on that. But what is happening, and part of this deal occurred based on one of the burglaries in Grants, and they actually got a suspect, and that's what precipitated the blow up on Facebook and things like that. Well, the following day, we actually got 4 calls from citizens up across the tracks. And what they're doing a number of different things. One of them is they're soliciting to do yard work, to do carpet cleaning, and also to sell vacuum cleaners.
Revenue bond and inducement resolution. Discussion?
If I can, we have with us tonight Loretta Duffy. Eddie, why don't you stand up? By the way, Eddie is a real lawyer because he has a coat and tie on. Point that out. There's actually another real lawyer who I'll introduce in a second. But we also have David Buckles. I think some of you remember David made a presentation 2 years ago or so, David, on this very topic. We call him Eddie. Eddie will be representing the village in these negotiations, and David is representing NGL, and we also have our regular attending the meeting, Greg Taft, who commutes in for every meeting from Houston, which is, we appreciate that, Greg.
It's always interesting to hear about the carrots.
So with that, I think, and David, unfortunately, is the master of ceremonies at a fairly major function in Albuquerque this evening, so can he get a free pass back?
No, I'm not asking for that.
To the city limits, yeah.
After that, he's on his own.
He gets to the bridge, sorry, I can't help it.
Okay. I'm sorry, Eddie,
Okay.
go ahead.
And with that, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on the resolution that you have in front of you and on the industrial revenue bond process, which would be involved in this project. I think most importantly, I think it's important to know what an industrial revenue bond is and isn't. And what it isn't is it's not a true financing in the sense that when you issue a bond, when the village issues a bond, it's actually on the line for it. This isn't that type of transaction. Under this industrial revenue bond transaction, the village will not be liable for the payment of the debt service on the bond, and under the statute and all the documents, it's clear that none of your monies are going to be used for the payment of this obligation. The debt service on the bond is going to be paid exclusively by the company, and to the extent there's any shortfall, the company couldn't pay for any reason, the village's money isn't on the line. There's no monetary risk to the village on that. What the bond is, it's essentially a tax exemption that's afforded to a project company like NGL in this case. And the way the exemption works is that the project company will act as your agent, and one thing this inducement resolution does is it authorizes them to act as your agent for acquiring property and equipment that's going to be used by them in connection with their project. By acting as your agent, they get the tax exemption in that they are acting on your behalf. So whatever tax exemption you guys get as a local government, they'll be getting. So meaning they will get the tax break on gross receipts and compensating taxes from tangible personal property that they acquire from the project, including equipment. They will get property taxes on real property and equipment that they acquire for the project. They won't get the tax break on gross receipts or compensating taxes on services that they may be paying for in connection with the project, because the government issuer doesn't get that. And so one other thing to highlight, you'll see that the bond says it's in an amount of up to $40 million. And what that $40 million means is, it's obviously not an amount that you're going to pay, but those are the project costs that the company can incur under this bond and get those tax breaks. So that can include land, equipment, services that they'll be acquiring as your agent. If for whatever reason the project costs go over, let's say they go over 10 million, that additional 50 million would be subject to gross receipts, compensating taxes, and property taxes. And what you have in front of you is the first step in the process. This is called an inducement resolution, and this isn't an obligation to issue the bonds. This is just the village saying we're interested in pursuing the bonds, and we're also authorizing the company to go ahead and start acting as our agent for the purposes of acquiring equipment and project property for the bonds. There will be a subsequent ordinance that will be adopted and considered by the village. And in that ordinance, you'll approve of the final terms of the bonds, approve of the issuance of the bonds, and approve of the underlying bond documents, which will be a lease, an indenture, and a bond purchase agreement. So you will get sort of another opportunity to look at everything. And in those later documents, a few of the key terms will be more fleshed out, in particular the terms of the bonds. And because you're giving up your tax revenue, what's commonly requested is payments in lieu of taxes, whereby the project company, they're getting some of the taxes abatement, but in lieu of those taxes, they'll make some annual payment to you. And we'll need to work through some of those details. We'll get probably some information on the project cost, and unless otherwise instructed, I assume you want me to work with the village manager and the city attorney on some of those terms. And what we would most likely do is try to work through those terms, get them in a place where we think it's acceptable for the village, and then present them at the next meeting. And once the ordinance is adopted, then there's a 30-day period between when we close. And I think we currently had estimated, considering the ordinance, assuming we can get everything else lined up, towards the mid to late September. Of course, we'll have to have all the documents finalized by that point. And I think, in addition to that, I know we've got representatives from the company here if you have any particular questions on the project. But if not, I'll stand for questions on this resolution or the process generally.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, I don't at this time.
Thank you.
Eddie, one thing, at this point, we're not necessarily committing to it, we're just commencing the process, is that correct?
That's correct. This is just an expression of intent.
Okay.
And if you don't approve of the final project, then the authorization goes away. They have to pay the tax, so it gets undone. So this is just the first step.
But there are some advanced steps that need to be done so that when we get to the point where we have reached a proposed agreement, we in fact can implement it. So that you're taking the preliminary steps, but not committing yourself.
I'd like to just make some brief comments. I'm David Buckles with the Rhodey Law Firm and representing the company here. First of all, I want to thank you for hearing this early because I do have a pressing appointment back in Albuquerque, and now I won't be able to make that, so thank you very much. Some of you do remember that I did come to talk to you about this topic a couple of years ago, and I cautioned that you be careful in using this incentive, that it's very important to use for good folks, but I think we have good folks here today. At least I'm proud to represent them. Eddie Duffy did a great job in describing the details to you. I will just add a couple of points. We do this by ordinance, so that means that we will publish in the newspaper at least 2 weeks in advance, and it'll be a public hearing, so the public will have a chance to come and speak on this with more notice than they had just on posting this inducement resolution in your agenda. Today is a first step. It indicates your first glance at saying, yes, we want you folks to work hard on this, we want you to come back to us with an ordinance. And as Eddie indicated, my client is well prepared to negotiate with you the payment in lieu of taxes so that there will be a material amount of payment in lieu that you can choose to use as you want. I don't know if Greg wants to speak some more details to the project. I understand you're well aware of what they're doing. $40 million project and 30 or 40 jobs is a great opportunity for this village, and I'm really pleased to be here on behalf of that. I'll also be happy to answer questions, but Greg, maybe you want to make a comment or two.
Well, I didn't know I was going to have to talk. Good to see you again, and thanks for letting me talk to you tonight. I guess I should let you know that the project, the inducement bond is for $40 million. The latest cost estimate we got was for close to $50 million. So that's the economics. We have economics to consider, and this is one step that will help us make the decision if that cost estimate sticks. It's a preliminary cost estimate at this point, but nevertheless, the project's going, like many projects, is going over budget some. But the general scope of the project has not changed. We're still planning on 8,000 barrels a day initially, and the tankage and everything else that I mentioned, have been mentioning to you in our past meetings has remained really the same. There's not any substantive difference between now and then. Our track loop is a little bit different shape, but I don't think anybody really cares about the loop of our track, the shape of it, as long as it stays on our property. So, and I do appreciate the village's consideration of this industrial revenue bond, and if it's successful, it will help the project to move forward. Questions for me? Or?
Okay.
Thank you.
If no more questions or discussion, the motion to approve resolution 2014-26, industrial revenue inducement resolution.
And I do recommend it, just so the record's clear, I do recommend that the board act favorably on this request.
Okay. I move that we go ahead and approve resolution 2014-26, an industrial revenue bond. It's an industrial resolution.
Motion by Mrs. Diane,
I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Diegas. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Romolo?
Yes.
Mrs. Diane?
Yes.
Mr. Diegas?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Comment on myself.
Next item on the agenda, approval of amendment to real estate purchase agreement and additional purchase agreement between the Village of Milan and the MGL Food Terminal LLC.
Marcella's trying to,
The thing Patsy brought us, the plat, remember the map?
is that handy? Yeah, I can just. That's fine. You go ahead and explain kind of where we are at this point. Thanks, Jerry. The original acquisition was essentially this piece cutting off right here on the south. In addition, NGL has negotiated the acquisition of,
The only one she brought was Baker. You don't have another Baker.
yeah, I actually gave it, we're going to be okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Greg, you can correct me at some point if I'm going to be in error, but the original plan that NGL had was to leave the railroad siding at this point, and the spur would come up through what we've been referring to as the Vulcan siding. This parcel right here that lies on the east side of the railroad is actually divided in half. The top half owned by an outfit called Vulcan Materials, the south half actually owned by Barbara Hanisch, George's widow. And the plan was to come in through here. NGL's engineers have decided that in consultation with BNSF, that won't work. So the plan now is to come in through here. It'll be a much longer route coming up, and eventually, of course, the loading facility being still in the same original location. So you previously approved a ordinance allowing for this sale of the additional property, which is essentially here, and so I'm tracing my finger on down here to the railroad. So the spur will come up through here, and as I said, the circular area, the loading pumping facility will remain here. What we have proposed to do is amend the purchase agreement to include an additional roughly 75 acres, which encompasses this property here and the property directly on the east side of Mount Taylor Mill down to the railroad siding. Purchase price is still the same, $4,000 an acre. So it will mean that the total purchase price now is just short of $1 million, 960,000, I think. Being this parcel and this area as well. The only concern I have, and this is something that Greg and I have talked about, and we've also talked to the attorneys representing NGL, is that we use Mill Road. I mean, we've got the farmhouse over here, and we need that access. And the concern we have is if we convey this, do we still maintain the access on Mill Road? Consistent with what NGL has done from the very beginning on this, NGL said, we'll work with you. You know, we'll come up with a solution. And what we're talking about is maintaining an easement here or establishing an easement here across this parcel. Up until today, we weren't able to get very clear indication as to whether this road constitutes a legal easement or not. It appears now that it does not, that there is an easement, but it terminates roughly here. So what I'm proposing that you do tonight on this particular aspect of the transaction is to approve it subject to Marcella and I negotiating this easement. And as I said, Greg has represented orally that they're glad to do that. Now, it'll turn out to be a little complicated because we're going to have a road easement, but at the same time, NGL needs to be able to run their track across that road. And at least in my judgment, that shouldn't be a problem. Track or tracks. So we'll be developing some language that unfortunately you don't have in front of you that clarifies that. But what NGL wants to do is close on all of this on the 2nd of September. And the reason that date is selected is that's the expiration of that 45-day period in which people can file an objection to this proposal. And so that time will have run by the 2nd of September. They want to close on the 2nd of September and then break ground on the morning of the 3rd.
Late that afternoon.
Or late that afternoon. I mean, one of the driving forces has been they need to get this project done quickly. And one of the things that we've offered to them is within the extent of our ability to do it, we'll comply with that request. So if the board is comfortable with that, to approve the proposed purchase agreement subject to, the amendment to the purchase agreement, subject to negotiation about this easement issue. That's item number 1. Item number 2 is, we can blame this all on the engineers, right?
Not my engineers, it's on
The outside guys,
outside
yeah,
guys,
who will remain nameless. Anyway, you may recall that we retained 2 well sites. One is down here roughly, and one is up in this corner. And we have 2 irrigation wells. With regard to this one, we reserved an acre which according to all the information we had was clearly sufficient if we ever had to get in and work on that well. Well, the engineers for NGL have decided that they need to use a small portion of that. And so we would cut our piece down to roughly a half acre, I
I
think.
think 2/3, you get about 2/3.
We end up with
and we get
2/3.
about a third.
Okay. And I checked with it, as I said, I checked with our well service people. They said, fine, not a problem. So you also have, for consideration, an agreement which tracks exactly what we've done up until now with regard to the terms of the agreement, the acquisition of about a third of an acre up here. Now, the one thing about this is because it's roughly $1,700, it doesn't trigger that 45-day comment period. So we should be ready to go on that with one exception, and that is we need to get a plat of that area done. That has to go through PMZ and then comes back before you. So what we would propose to do is your next meeting on, let's say, the 18th of September, you would first, if you're favorable with this idea, act on the plat, approve the plat, and then follow it up with approval of the acquisition by NGL of that roughly 1/3 acre. And that would, and then they'd probably close on that the day after the 19th. So game plan, again, close on this and this portion 2nd of September, subject to your okay, subject to the resolution of this easement issue, and then later thereafter on the 18th, deal with that little problem up in the corner. I gave you a lot, and I'm sorry, but it's stuff that we've been involved in up till now, so no surprises. Any questions?
So on the top one, on the top well, we'll have 2/3. What about the second well down there?
Yeah, we retained that.
Okay.
We didn't touch
We'll
that.
get,
Okay,
That was.
yeah,
okay.
yeah, we didn't touch that.
And the only reason we're doing this is we had retained a whole acre, but they're needing a little piece of it, and that changes that piece of it to the next date.
But we still can service that well adequately
Yeah.
with what we need.
I should say that, just to kind of explain what happened, you're probably wondering, all that land, why do we need another third of an acre? BNSF has very, very strict requirements for the radius of turns coming in and off of their main line. Even though it's our track, they tell us how to design the track, what to make the track out of, what kind of ballast to use. Everything is dictated to us by BNSF because their locomotives come on our property and they would like them to be able to leave our property. And we have our loop is up here, and we have a piece of track coming right here and going right up the BNSF right of way, and the curve just fits in that piece, in the geometry of the project, just fits up there, but it just clips that acre of land. And if we don't have that piece, then we have to move everything south, and it gets constricted down here because of the angle that the property takes coming down from the railroad. So it's just amazing that you can get 225 acres of land, and yet you've got this little piece up here that's causing a problem, and that's what happened. And that's essentially what happened down here. BNSF has made us, told us they want more storage, what they call storage track. That's track on which a train will sit, but it's not being loaded or unloaded. It's just waiting to be loaded or unloaded, and they wanted more track than we had originally planned on. So we ended up having to come all the way down here. Well, we're going to end up having about 40,000 feet of railroad track. So it's 8 miles.
What are the plans for that access road and the railroad track? Are there any details being worked out?
Right here?
No, at the intersection.
I don't know which
For
intersection.
access to the farmhouse.
Here?
Right there, yes.
Yeah, why don't you explain what the plan is?
Yeah.
That's going to be upgraded significantly. Go ahead, Greg.
Nursery Road won't work because of this big
Right.
curve up here. There's a
Right.
big curve up here. People go across Nursery
Right.
Road, they can't see if a train's coming, if two trains
But
are
I'm
side
talking
by
about the
side.
new one right down here.
So we're going to upgrade this Mill Road crossing
Okay.
to a signalized 36-foot wide pavemented, is that a word? Concrete crossing, and our trucks will come in here and they will go right up here along the edges of the property and cross right. The road will go right up here and come into here.
Right, I think you answered it. You put a signal there.
Yeah, there'll be a signal. It'll be signalized.
All right.
Yes.
I guess that's what I was asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I got around to it.
One thing I want to point out, what we've been talking about, has been discussed with Mount Keller folks. So
Yeah.
One of the things that has really impressed me about NGLs, they've been very open. They don't play any games, they don't hide things. And, trying to work out things so that the neighbors benefit.
Or certainly are negatively impacted.
Right.
No more questions?
So you have two agreements in front of you. One is the amendment, and that will add in this additional property, and as indicate, increases the purchase price by $304,000. And the other is, and as I said, I would ask that you make it subject to the resolution of this easement issue. And the other agreement you have is the acquisition of that additional 1/3 acre. And that would be subject to the plat approval process that would need to be completed.
Okay.
Okay.
With the change of the 1/3 acre in the corner.
Would it be helpful for me to articulate
Yes.
what it
please.
is, and then somebody could say, "I so move"? Glad to do that.
That's kind of missing right here.
It is.
What's that, Bobby?
Never mind, it's missing here, so,
No, it says additional,
right, and we can say that.
additional
If you want to
purchase
really
agreement.
articulate,
Additional purchase
and be
agreement.
specific, then it would be helpful.
We'll take a run at it. The motion would be to approve the amendment to the real estate purchase agreement, subject to resolution of the easement issue for the continuation of Mill Road. And the second would be the approval of the additional purchase agreement, subject to plat approval.
So these are two,
In one.
okay.
Right. Or we could do them separately. If you-
Separately?
That sounds good, so I'll make the motion.
Sounds good. I second her motion.
Motion by Mrs. Pamela,
I second her motion.
second by Mrs. Diane. Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mrs. Pamela.
Yes.
Mrs. Diane, Mr. Diegas.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion carried.
now you want another one? The additional purchase of the agreement?
Want the part?
Yeah, I'm gonna head to the airport.
He's got a a late flight and an early flight.
Early flight, so.
But you'll be back for the next meeting and we'll send you.
Yeah, I'll try.
And you're a regular from now on.
I'll try, yeah, I'll try.
Thanks,
Thank you all
Greg.
very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we got through that. This discussion,
Well, all we
McDonald
do is send them a
condemnation,
Oh.
513
So
East
it's
Street,
not a handout,
Milan,
it's a-
New Mexico.
the reason these are on here is we need to set a hearing on these. These were the condemnations that you voted on, and if they appeal, we allow them a hearing. And they all appealed, so we need to set a hearing date.
Okay.
Maybe I could interject that efforts were made to resolve these informally, and those efforts did not prove successful. So it's not like we just slammed the door shut.
We did have a progress report.
Right, right.
Okay.
Is that what you would like? That's why I'm standing here kind of dumbfounded at this point.
No,
As far as the 513 East Street address, I have seen nothing in furtherance of any, any improvement at all.
On which one?
The first, on
513?
item number 3,
513, no improvement?
no ma'am. The resident is still living there under the same conditions that have been present since the incident the fire. As far as the 1003 St. Paul Street address, both the travel trailer and the fifth wheel trailer have been removed. The lot has been cleaned up. I spoke with the property owner Monday or Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday, Mr. Lopez, and he informed me that he had a prospective buyer for the property. There's, again, some cinder block laying around and stuff, but for all intents and purposes, the property has been cleaned up. It's 1,000% better than what it was. As far as the 400 Clay Street address, improvements were started on that property and then they stalled. And I think there was a period of time where a former resident lived there for a short period of time. They moved two recreational vehicles on the property. When they were confronted with it, the resident said that he was in the process of scrapping them to, get rid of sell them for scrap basically. He was ordered to remove them, and within 2 days, both of them were gone. But the property itself, I know they replaced a couple of windows on the west side of the residence, and maybe one on the south side, but beyond that, and some of the trash has been picked up, but it's, it's still unsightly. I don't know about the 1003 St. Paul address. I mean, do we still need to avail them their appeal and have them come in?
Yeah.
So we still have to go,
I think we should
through the
set
process.
all three.
Okay,
If there are changes, we can deal with.
okay. Okay, that's
Is there anything
basically,
we can do to help them out? This 513, you said they haven't done any progress. Is it that little band that came in the last time? Is that the same one?
that's correct.
Is there anything we can do to help them maybe? In any way?
it needs more than that.
More than that?
I mean,
I don't know.
it needs all water, there's no sewer, and hasn't been for over a year. And they've lived like that.
And somebody lives there.
Yes.
How can they live there if they have no water, no sewer, no nothing?
Well, we
It doesn't
can't
make sense.
control it, we would like to, but we can't. I mean, I can't, unless you pass an ordinance that says everybody that moves to Milan will hook up water and sewer.
Can't.
And I don't know, can you do
Can't
something
do
like
that.
that? I guess you can, but right now we don't have
do
one.
it, though.
Well, I looked
And
at,
maintain it, because that did have it at one time.
I looked into that very fact, and I was corrected by Mr. Bowington that I was misreading the ordinance. And so we're back to exactly where Marcellus is.
So are we setting up a hearing for all three on the same
Yeah.
day, or?
That's your choice.
That's your call. That's why they're listed separately on this agenda. You can set the dates for the hearings, and we will notify them.
Okay.
I'm going to guess each hearing probably about at least an hour. So if you want to do them all one day
How about we want separate hearings?
or separately, that's your call.
That's what you're saying. You're saying
Separate hearings.
the hearings will probably last about an hour.
That would be
Is
my
that
guess.
correct?
Yeah.
Are they going to be represented by someone?
So
or-
far, no.
We don't know.
Right,
So they could be representing themselves.
in all likelihood.
Yeah, okay.
So do we have, if we're setting a date for a hearing, do we have to give them so many days for, notify them and say your hearing is on such and such a day?
Yeah.
Well, we could tell them per your request, we have scheduled this date at this time, and let them know that if that doesn't work, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
My sense is if we set them sometime after the 15th of September, we'll met any obligation of advance notice. I don't know if that's responsive to your question, Vivian.
Okay.
Okay.
And just for clarification on the second residence, the residence at 1003 St. Paul, what he said, had been claimed.
Yes, sir.
So are we moving ahead and having a hearing there also
That one?
after it's been cleaned or
Is
not?
No, we don't have to after it's been cleaned.
Is it adequate?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I guess that's what I'm
Oh,
asking.
well, let me explain it this way. At one point in time, there was a viable residence in the form of a mobile home there, and where that mobile home sat, there was actually a foundation built. I don't know if it was concrete or if it was cinder block, but there's a remnant of that foundation on the west side of the property, right up against the fence. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a partial cement slab on the east side of the residence, or the east side of the lot. I couldn't tell you how big it is. I mean, the power pole is still there. And like I say, there's remnants of, pieces of cinder block and rock and things like that. But for all intents and purposes, the trash has been picked up, the fifth wheel has been moved, and the travel trailer has been moved as well.
So in other words, whatever action has been taken or serving them with notice has worked.
Yes, basically.
They
Basically.
abated.
I mean, I would suggest to you that if it looked like to any of you that there needed to be more cleaning done, I mean, you'd have to go over and take a look at it.
That would be the officer, the ordinance officer, I guess.
Correct.
Because, I mean, if this worked, then why would we want to proceed against this individual?
They've tried,
And
They're doing
I
it.
respect your judgment.
yeah,
If you say they've cleaned it,
they've cleaned
then
it.
Yeah, Mr. Lopez, he's been in contact with me on several occasions, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. There was some other issues that he was dealing with in reference to
I
the
mean,
property.
that's exactly what I like to hear. I like to hear that, he was served some sort of notice and he actually did something.
That's all it
That
is.
means it's working.
It's working.
Yeah.
My suggestion may be,
And plus, I mean, he's showing by example that he's done something. And we have a hearing. I mean, the first thing I'm gonna say is that this individual was in the same, in your shoes, and he took action and cleaned this place up.
And the hearing was so that they could appeal. I
Right.
mean, we could say, okay, you abated.
I see.
I didn't know if we had to have the hearing after all that, but the intent is probably just to release it because of the abatement.
my suggestion, because I think it's still a little murky, would be to defer action on 1003, and then somebody ought to come in and say officially they've met the obligation, we're satisfied, and then we could dismiss the complaint.
And that would be on behalf of the village, correct?
That is correct.
Either myself or Yvette or...
That is correct.
I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we set the hearing for the one on East Street and the one on Clay Street, and if you're thinking like an hour, so
I would think we would be able to complete them each in an hour.
do that in like a 5:30
Right.
meeting in the evening, or should we do it during the day? What's your,
In the
Well, I think that's the pleasure of the board.
In the evening would be good, because none of us are working.
Yeah.
I
In
think
1
it
hour
might-
is all. After you get with your job.
We'll call it a
Evening,
hobby.
evening,
Whenever you set it up, it's good. You set it up, we'll be here.
Okay, sometime after the 15th of September.
Yes.
We'll see. Okay.
Yes.
Are we gonna do it now?
Oh, set the dates?
Yeah.
Oh, we can do that.
I think that's
Yes.
what we're after.
Okay.
so what is the
What's the 16th?
what is the 16th?
That's our,
It's a Tuesday.
Let's see, we have a workshop here, board meeting there.
16th.
Yeah, because they set special
After the
meetings.
15th, we're gonna do it, okay?
I don't think I know.
September
16th.
September the
So this
16th.
is our board meeting.
Well,
right here.
Well, that's our board meeting date.
So we have,
No, so
so
we'll say-
16.
And the
16.
special meeting
16.
with regard to budget
Yeah.
issue. It'll work for you guys.
and we go.
They want it September 16th.
Will that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the one.
Just the one.
5:30, 16th?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
just number.
Both of them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
5:30.
Yeah. 16. 5:30.
Yeah.
St. Paul?
Yeah. Well, they have to vote on it, but they're gonna defer it. Am I right?
Oh,
Defer on that one.
No vote.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I said, we're gonna defer it.
But not this one.
That one gets
East
deferred.
Street,
That one's out.
Clay, the 6 weeks at 5:30?
Yeah.
We'll take this.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, discussion action, approval of resolution 2014-21. Resolution to the division of the Housing and Urban Development Act 1968 to help foster local economy development, neighborhood economic improvement, and individual self-sufficient community development guidelines.
As I mentioned in the workshop, these are all of the CDBG or resolutions that we need to pass because we did receive the funding and it's part of our packet to go forward. The next, I think there's 4 of them. Yeah, the next 4 are, they're all tied to our community development block grant. And we did receive 500,000.
Okay.
So we have to comply with these.
We have to do each one of these separate, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, that's for a motion for approval of resolution 2014-21.
I move that we accept resolution 2014-21.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Diane, second by Mr. Davis. Mr. Gonzalez? Yes. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Diane?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is resolution 2014-22. Motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2014-22.
I'll second the motion.
motion by Mr. Gallegos, Mr. Gonzalez, second. Mr. Geiger?
Yes.
Yes.
Diane? Mrs. Rumble?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next one is 2014-23.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution 2014-23.
And I second his motion.
Motion by Mr. Geiger, second by Mrs. Diane. Mr. Gonzalez? Yes. Mrs. Rumble?
Yes.
Mr. Geiger?
Yes.
And Mrs.
Yes.
Diane. Motion carried. We have one more. Resolution 2014-24.
Phillips.
Need a motion by
I'll make a motion to approve 2014-24.
I second that motion.
motion by Mrs. Rumble, second by Mrs. Diane. Mr. Geiger?
Yes.
Mrs. Diane?
Yes.
Mrs. Rumble?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item, approval of resolution 2014-25, a resolution adopting infrastructural capital improvement plan.
We have, we have completed the infrastructure plan, but Vicky went home sick today, so I don't have it for your packet. So and it is due September 2nd, so I am gonna need to request a special meeting to put that in front of you, because I can't ask you to approve it without having it.
Okay.
We did the changes we needed to it, we prioritized, we had our meetings, but Vicky has been the one talking, and then Carmen went on vacation this week and was gonna get back with her Monday to make sure everything was entered correctly.
Okay.
But if you can pick a date, I will make sure that we have it in front of you. And we do need to have it in by the 2nd, a hard copy, so you tell me what day you can work on it, and I will set up, if you will, do a special meeting.
How about the 27th? If she's gonna get with Vicky on Monday.
Well, they have two people at
We're gone
conference.
then.
Well, that's right, you're at conference.
Vicky's close enough that it'll be done.
25th?
We could do it 26th,
Yes.
26th?
26.
8 o'clock.
Yes,
26th.
Is that enough
10
time for you,
o'clock, you say?
yeah.
Just say 9.
Teresa?
9 o'clock?
Wait. I don't know.
No, because I need to publish it.
It's not an emergency, so we can't have it the 26th.
No?
That 72 hours is gonna,
Okay.
maybe the 28th?
The 29th, maybe. We're gonna be gone then too. We can be back then.
What's today, the 21st?
If it's
Yeah.
on the 26th, you could publish on the 22nd.
You know what I could do is have her, I could
No,
have
for
her
it to
come
be
in
this
tomorrow
Friday.
and make
Tomorrow's the
sure it's
22nd.
ready. And we could present it to you Monday, and then all we're changing is not what's in there, but they make you perfect the wording. We wouldn't be changing the prioritization or the amounts.
So it'd be Monday.
So if you can do Monday, I can make sure she has it ready for Monday. Or I will have it ready, let's put it that way. I may not sleep, but,
When's the meeting then?
oh, I can't have it
No.
Monday. Okay, when's the earliest I can have it?
The
Back to Tuesday. Or there's something going on Tuesday.
And I don't know
The
if that's
20
enough
I
time.
can send it in today, so it could be in Tuesday's beacon.
Tuesday.
So Wednesday is the earliest, and if we have 2 people at conference,
Oh.
if I knew I had the other 3 here, we could do it. But I need a full commitment. Or we can do it Thursday.
29th is the earliest, right? 3 days after publication.
3 days after publication.
Tuesday, Wednesday, okay, so Friday.
29th.
We're gone.
29th.
Maybe that I emailed though.
29.
Is on a Friday.
You can do it on the 29th.
The 29th?
We can do the 29th.
Morning, the 29th?
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock on the 29th.
You're not at conference on the 29th?
We'll be back. We're back.
We're back.
We'll get our
Okay.
business back.
Okay, we need to table this and put it on our special meeting on this item.
Yes. Yes. Table this until September or August 29th.
Okay,
And I apologize for that. It just happens to.
we need a motion to table this item till the 29th, your special meeting.
I make a motion to table, resolution 2014-25, to August the 29th at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I second her motion.
Motion by Mrs. Brumbelow, second by Mr. Diane. Mr. Dyegas?
Yes.
Mrs. Diane?
Yes.
Mrs. Brumbelow? Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Table till the 29th at 8 a.m. Next item, discussion action, approval of ordinance 249, an ordinance supplementing the New Mexico 2004 reviewing of the uniform traffic ordinance.
I don't know what the changes are.
Well, every year there are changes, and Jerry can speak to this as well. Every year the legislature makes some adjustments in the municipal traffic code, which we utilize. And we're required to implement those changes, and so that's what we're doing. I don't know that we can necessarily quote you chapter and verse as to what those changes are, but the easy answer is to say, we gotta do it.
They're already law.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We
So
just
it's
have to
kind of
adopt
a
them.
redundancy then. I mean, it's already law, but we have to say,
Well,
we're going
We
to abide
adopt
by the
their
law.
fees.
Because our traffic ordinance is adopted from state law
Right.
into ordinance, we have to do it this way.
That's no
It's-
problem.
The statutory language is basically the same. What it does is it converts it from state statute to municipal ordinance.
Okay.
That's all it is. Yeah. I move that we go ahead and accept ordinance number 249.
Second motion.
Motion by Mr. Diane, second by Mr. Dyegas. Mr. Dyegas?
Yes.
Mr. Diane?
Yes.
Mr. Brownwell?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion carried. Discussion action, approval of Milan Junior Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, discussion.
As I gave you last month, the SOPs, standard operating procedures and guidelines for the juniors, and told you that they will not be in any harm. We will not let them be in any harm. And that, as I told you in the workshop, that VFI insurance will insure them at no additional cost, as long as they are on some type of training or duties we have them assist us with. So this is just a formal matter to see if y'all will approve us to have a junior department. Like I said, I had 12 to 15 kids interested. I don't know if I'm gonna end up with that many. But now we got about a dozen for sure that are interested.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to be able to give them a stipend, some type of a stipend?
No, they will not be, we weren't asking for any stipend. This is gonna be to help them, maybe teach them some stuff that down the road they'll wanna become a full volunteer when they turn 18. But at this time, we weren't looking at paying them any type of
There's no way
stipend.
we can allow anything?
I doubt very seriously. I'm getting evil eyes, so I'm gonna say no.
Well, the problem becomes if they become an employee, then Marcella and I have dealt with this before, it carries with it a number of other things, withholding, workman's comp, etc.
The fall fiesta, and the other things we do, assist us with the tri-state when we host and things like
More,
that.
I think more students would think about joining you though.
Yeah.
If there was something that they can see.
Well, it's gonna help them, because it's, we're gonna, if you pass this, what I'm gonna do, then my next step is to go to the school and see what I can get for them from the school as maybe an extracurricular activity.
Oh, I see, okay, then that'll work.
Yeah.
Extra credit, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, one more
But-
question.
okay.
The next one was, they have to, do you have a certificate in here somewhere where they have to state that they are in good health and what have you?
Yes.
Are you gonna require a doctor's statement?
We haven't got that far, but we can.
you are, you can?
If that's what y'all recommend to me, that's what we will do.
Well, if you're requesting it anyway, so they might as well.
Yeah, we can get something of that nature from them.
What else, you have anything else?
No.
That's it?
Any more discussion? Okay, need a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the Milan Junior Volunteer Fire Department.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yeah,
second
but-
that motion.
Motion by Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Diane. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Melvin? Mr. Diane?
Yes.
And Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Personnel, employee of the month for August 2014.
The department head selected Eddie Miles from the fire department. He steps in when Keith is gone, and he's always there when anything is going on and available, offering his services. And he is a temporary employer, a part-time if you will, but he's always there.
It's true.
Yeah,
He
he's a
deserves it,
conscientious
yes.
person, he takes pride in what he does.
Yes.
Thank you. Hires and terminations,
I think we're good. I don't think we have any new, we announced them, we had them for the last meeting, and we've not terminated anyone.
citizens to address the board.
Mary,
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. I just had wanted to thank the village, I don't know if it was the road department or the parks and rec, for coming and cutting down the weeds and cleaning the weeds in what used to be the old road that they used to go on to pick up the garbage. My back fence is 4 foot tall, the weeds were at least 2 feet taller than that. And it has just meant so much to be able to go outside and enjoy the evenings and, you know, without the addition of mosquitoes that live in those weeds. Thank you, village.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to make an introduction. We have Mr. Ed Landreth here this evening, who's interested in an item that we'll deal with in closed session. I just wanted to recognize that Ed is here this evening with a purpose, Ed being in the white shirt in the audience.
Okay.
Okay, board comments. Mr. Davis, tell us about the picture you painted.
I have an artist, Ernest Skeet, who is painting a mural, and in fact, there is a photo of what he is painting in back of Mr. Boynton and back of Marcel that you can't see, but it's a photograph that appeared on the walls of the early Grant State Bank. The photo was removed when I guess they moved to their present location. It was in the basement along with this photo up here, and then they were water damaged. And it depicts, it's probably, the photo is circa 1946. It shows a truck loaded with carrots on its way to probably the factory, the boxing factory. And we have a drawing up to the center there, and that is a drawing of the mural, and that is the drawing that the mural that the artist will be following. And so it depicts an important part of the history of Milan, and so I feel, and I hope the citizens feel, that it's a way of showing the agricultural history of this area. And so that's all I have to say about that. And I thank the mayor and the council for supporting this project.
Thank you.
I think this is a very good project, and I think it's gonna go well. And it does tell the true story of Milan. And I saw what that gentleman was doing out there, and he's doing a very good job on it, which is good. Thank you.
Mr. Blumwell.
I like what Mr. Stevens doing. It's nice. It'll be nice whenever he finishes. I understand one on the other side that he's going to do, on the other side of the building. So-
That is correct. There is an additional photo that shows workers, I think the workers are Native American workers dressed in velveteen, and it should also be a very historically significant and aesthetically pleasing piece of art that our village deserves.
I'd also like to say the school has started, and when the boiler gets working, the students will be going swimming. Just to make note, they're kind of crossing there off Airport Road. Catalina, yeah, so watch for them. I know the teachers are out there and watch, and the officers, if they're around, they're watching too, but things are going good. We're glad that we're back in school. We have a total of 508 students right now, so everything's good. We're busy, and the village looks really good, so.
Mr. Gonzalez.
You wanna go into closed session?
Okay, first I would like to say that my wife and I support the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We have sent 2 of my paychecks from here to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I intend to send some more. But I would also like to let you know that on September is the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So if anybody would like to donate to the St. Jude's, that's a worthy cause, I think, and because nobody gets turned down for any illness. The parents, the people get their housing and everything paid for when they take a child to St. Jude's, and that's a very worthy cause. And also, the kids are back in school, so be very careful coming in and out and picking up students, or kids are going to be kids in there. You know, you got to be very careful with that. And then I would like to wish it's time for fall sports, and for the kids, and then for the Pirates too. I want to wish them well, men and women. But the kids, some of them are still playing fall baseball, and we want to wish all them. They have flag football for the little ones, and the YAFO program is starting. The football league, soccer is starting, and if you can attend any one of those, that would be great. So at least they know that we're interested in things that they do. I know I do all the time. I attend everything I can for the youngsters. And last but not least, and this is not something that I want to be known as complaining about stuff, but the sprinklers at Maribel Park, for about the last month, they've been, I would say, an average of 7 hours a day watering, in the mornings and in the evenings, when it's raining, when it's pouring. So, we need to conserve our water, and I think that would be a good place to start.
And I call
because
every
it's-
day.
because
And
it's
one day, and then they'll send somebody to turn them off, and I did ask that if we can't get the timer working, to have the guys just do it manually.
That would be great.
And
'cause
we'll
it's-
pay call out for it, because I have the same concern you do,
Yes, ma'am.
and I am working on it. Well, I also will say is what we're finding is the older kids out there are intentionally breaking the sprinkler heads so the water goes up and the valves. And they're more than the other part.
Yeah.
They are doing that. But I called, I think I called again today, and I told them, if you can't do that, I want it done manually, because
Yes.
if we're asking people to conserve, we have to do the same.
That's right, and I understand that part, but I also realize that the kids are kids. If they see a sprinkler going on, they're gonna go play with it, you know what I mean? If it's not on during the day, they wouldn't play with it, but, you know, if they water it at night, the kids wouldn't. But, you know, kids are kids, and if they
Right.
see something like that, they'll go over there and play with it, and that's wrong, I think. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I would notice the soccer field fence, it really looks nice to see them when they come down here. That fence looks real good over there. And on the weekends, I've been noticing the park at Elkins Park, that place is full. People
And
are
there's a
really
lot,
using it.
there's some new canopies, and it's
Yeah.
always full.
Yeah, on the Sundays, there are cars parked everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's good to see them using something and not just sitting there. And hopefully they won't tear it up, you know, keep it in good shape. It looks nice. And I'm glad to see that we're moving forward with this other project and things may start happening. We'll get something going. That's about all I have. Next item is closed session. Pursuant to New Mexico's NMSA 1978, Section 1, Section 10-15-1, H8.
You need a motion.
You need a motion.
Yeah.
I move that we go ahead and go into closed session pursuant to New Mexico State Statute 1978, Section 1015, 1H8.
Motion by Mr. Diane,
I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Greenwell?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Motion carried.